Just last week I was in Ireland with our team. We were filming for our Catholicism series. And at the hotel I picked up the newspaper, the Irish Independent. While we were in the bus going across the Irish countryside, I was reading the paper. I come across an article about Mel Gibson. There's a picture of Mel Gibson and a brief article. The title was, "Wait, it just gets better and better." So of course I read the article, and it's a rehearsal of all these outrageous things that Mel has allegedly done, all these drunken forays into anti-Semitism and sexism and wife beating, et cetera, et cetera. But then at the end of the article, there's a little line, and it said, "Who knew Catholicism could be so interesting?" Well, I mean, it just took my breath away. I thought it was the most bizarre comment at the end of such an article. I remember thinking, suppose someone had done a story about Bernie Madoff. Remember, he's the fellow who swindled people out of millions of dollars. Suppose they had recounted all his crimes and misdemeanors and then had said, "Who knew Judaism could be so fascinating?" You couldn't imagine it. But here, in this utterly gratuitous way, at the end of the article, is the clear insinuation that Mel Gibson's misbehavior is caused not by his sinful soul, not by his drinking, not by a dysfunctional childhood. I mean, pick whatever you want. It was the product of his Catholicism. And so here's what struck me. Sometimes I'm happy when the mask slips. I thought that author, I was kind of relieved in some ways. I was gratified by his honesty that he was clearly insinuating this causal connection. Because I've suspected that the obsessive interest in Mel Gibson's dysfunctions might be a function of the same kind of prejudice. Here's what I mean. Let's face it, Hollywood is filled with dozens, hundreds of dysfunctional people. All the stories you could tell about misbehavior out in Hollywood. Why has there been this nearly obsessive interest in Mel Gibson's problems? Well, I think that article gives some indication that at least for some people, it's the implication that that Catholicism is a sign of this dysfunction. Or it's born of the fact that Mel Gibson has been a very public advocate of Christianity and of Catholicism. He's the author, he's the director of The Passion of the Christ, and he's been a very public Catholic. I can't help but think some of the obsessive interest is because of that. Now, mind you, I'm not for a second defending any of Mel Gibson's bizarre thinking and even more bizarre behavior. I would share the general disgust at the way he's been behaving. So I'm not defending him in any way. But I am calling into question this tendency to use his dysfunction as a club to beat up on Catholicism.